makes a difference. Learn more at casafamilyday.org.
You turn on the television or you pick up a newspaper magazine, and all the information you see is just controlled by a handful of corporations. So how are you or I or any of us, how can we get our messages out to people? How can you tell people what you care about? You can go on Facebook and compete with hundreds of people who post things that may or may not be true. You can go on Twitter and post things with a handful of characters, because Twitter is really the place for literate people to hang out. Or you could go in with a sandwich board and walk the streets. You could write a letter to the editor. Or, even better, you could go to public access television. Public access serves your community on a first-come, first-served basis. And whether you're rich or poor, doesn't matter. It's first come, first served. Everyone in the community is welcome to come to public access and talk about not only the issues that are important to them, but if you have a poem to recite, a story to tell, a song to sing, just anything at all that's in your mind or a heart to tell, you come to public access. Public access in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I'm speaking right now, has been around since 1980, and I've seen it change events in Fayetteville. And the nice thing about public access now in the 21st century is that it's not just on a television channel, but it's also on the internet, so you can reach people around the world. So if you feel frustrated at not being able to talk to people, not being able to get your message out, and you think there's no way to do it, well, take heart, there is. Public access, it's a vital component of our First Amendment rights. So public access, like the man says, use it or lose it.
Hi, I'm Malin Gardner. I'm with YouthBridge Incorporated. I run the Transitional Living Programs, and you're watching Fayetteville Public Access Television.
I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my heads, lose my plow, lose my land, as if I ever lose my heads away, I won't have to work no more. And if I ever lose my eyes, if my colors all run dry, as if I ever lose my eyes away, I won't have to cry no more. Well, I'm being followed by a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. Leaping and hopping on a moon shadow, moon shadow, moon shadow. And if I ever lose my legs, no, I won't moan and I won't beg, as if I ever lose my legs away, I won't have to walk no more. And if I ever lose my mouth, all my teeth, north and south, as if I ever lose my mouth away, I won't have to talk. Did it take long to find me? Why has the faithful light? Did it take long to find me? And are you gonna stay the night? Whoa, 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 I'm being followed by a moon shadow. Moon shadow, moon shadow. Leaping and a hopping on a moon shadow. Moon shadow, moon shadow. Moon shadow, moon shadow. Moon shadow, moon shadow.
Hi, with us today is Catherine Reed, singer extraordinaire. Catherine, you're originally a Texas girl.
Yes.
But as Jim Reeves said about one of his bandmates, you were real little at the time. You couldn't do much about it. So
Had to land somewhere.
had to land somewhere. Now it's been 18 years since you were on the show.
Thank you for having me back.
That's all right. That's all right. I guess we've all forgotten what a abysmal performance you put on last time. But you've been up to quite a bit in the last almost 2 decades, haven't you?
Yeah. I've taken advantage of lots of opportunities.
Including, what, several albums?
Yeah, I went on ahead and made 4 more after the one that we had. That was my
Yeah.
debut album that we did the interview with.
Right.
And then I did 4 more. And then the first 2 are now out of print, unless you want to download them digitally. But what I did is I took my favorites of the first 2 and made them into a double album. So it's 4 albums now.
Okay.
And that works out. And they're for sale on iTunes and also in the gift shops in town in Eureka, the Irish at the Basin Park and the Serendipity gift shop at the Crescent.
Good. So people can still buy and actually have a
Yeah.
physical copy.
Right, right.
I've never gotten into downloading stuff off the internet.
It's pretty convenient. I do now.
Really? I never have. You know what I've discovered about albums? Is that the best songs were the ones that were never played on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if I'm alone in that thinking, but that's what I always discovered a long time ago.
I'm in company with you
Yeah.
because I agree. So,
But-
although there are some good cover tunes that are top 40 hits.
That's true. So your life has been an ongoing spiritual quest, hasn't it?
Yes. I'm trying to hone in on the highest truth the most inclusive truth for all people I can hone in on for myself, because I want everybody to get in the door. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I'm trying to teach myself that, and I'm getting closer, inch by inch, day by day.
So how's that reflected in your music?
I'm trying to teach forgiveness, not from the world's perspective. The world's perspective says, you sinned, but I forgive you.
Right.
The higher perspective on that is that sin overall there's no great order in sin. It's kind of bogus to say there's sin. Now that goes right down somebody's spine if you're a fundamentalist Christian and believe in sin.
Or just a jerk.
But if you can think of it as they're a child of God first,
Yeah.
and they have, the ability to be forgiven at any moment. So I just try to see it as the way that, I guess I'm not very clear on my speech
Well,
here.
people screw up. It's kind of in the manual, isn't it? When it comes with being a person.
It's not my place. I guess
Right.
that's the bottom line, is I'm not supposed to be judging. And that's what I practice, is trying to be aware where I'm judging. Because I'll judge somebody because I go into Walmart and I'm impatient and tired and I have expectations or ambitions about what I want. And somebody gets in my way and now I've got to cater to them. That part of my ego, I try to watch and subdue it and say, hey, there wasn't a problem until you got here. That's one of my favorites.
Are you always successful?
I would say I'm getting better and better,
Yeah.
one day at a time.
So when did this spiritual quest sort of start for you?
It started probably back in '91 when I got sober and tried to turn things over. And then I got into the Course in Miracles. And the Course in Miracles is sort of a black belt version of spirituality, where it says, own your own resentments, hostilities, or
Right.
judgments and release them. And then you, to the Holy Spirit, to Jesus, whoever,
Right.
your source. And then you remove that obstacle between you and your source. And that has sort of been it's sort of like my favorite candy. I love doing it. It's not always easy, but I love doing it because it's where I find peace.
Yeah.
Because when I leave you alone, I'm a lot happier. If I stop
Yeah.
and talk about how much hair you have, Richard, I get in trouble.
That's
I
a
don't
short subject, too.
I rode my bicycle past your window last night. I roller skated to your door at daylight. It almost seems like you're avoiding me. I'm okay alone, but you've got something I need. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I think we should get together and try them on to see. I've been looking around a while. You got something for me. Oh, I get a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I ride my bike, I roller skate, don't drive no car. Don't go too fast, but I go pretty far. For somebody who don't drive, I've been all around the world. Some people say I done alright for a girl. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I asked your mama if you were at home. She said yes, but you weren't alone. Oh, sometimes I just think that you're avoiding me. I'm okay alone, but you got something I need. Well, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. I think we should get together and try them on to see. La 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 la. Oh, I got a brand new pair of roller skates. You got a brand new key. Woo-hoo. Come a little bit closer. Hear what I have to say. Just like children sleeping, we could dream this night away. But there's a full moon rising. Let's go out and feel the light. We know where the music's playing. Let's go dancing in the night. Because I'm still in love with you, I wanna see you dance again. Because I'm so in love with you on this harvest moon. When we were strangers, I watched you from afar. When we were lovers, I loved you with all my heart. But now it's getting late, and the moon is climbing high. I wanna celebrate, see it shining in your eyes. Because I'm still in love with you, I wanna see you dance again. Because I'm so in love with you, on this harvest moon. Ha-da-da. Ha-da-da-da-da-da. Because I'm still in love with you, I wanna see you dance again. Because I'm so in love with you, on this harvest moon.
Thank you. All right. So the music's done. Thank you guys very much.
So, what about your spiritual quest? Does this translate into your music?
Yes. It translates in a lot of ways. First of all, when I go to a gig, if I've done my job right, I'm about bringing peace to others. So even if I'm playing a Tom Petty song, the point is I'm feeling more accepting of everybody there and more able to give them some joy.
Right.
And that's kind of, if I'm not worried about me, I'm doing great. So the songs that I write, like See the Light, which we have on this program,
Right.
that was definitely written about trying to learn about forgiveness and how the unconditional form of forgiveness, where I just need to forgive because God's in charge of that judgment, not me. So
talking about your music, you've been compared to quite a few people. Nora Jones, Eva Cassidy, Joni Mitchell, Sarah McLachlan, Karen Carpenter, Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
I just threw that in there. But
I'll be.
But you really, I mean, you've been compared favorably to a lot of these singers.
That's quite an honor. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. All I pretty much do is play with food, but the difference is, and I mean, I play restaurants and play.
Right.
I do a couple of concert performances, but I haven't pursued this career too passionately as far as being in the mainstream. I don't think I have the mainstream cut.
Yeah.
But being compared to those powerful women, they are very much an inspiration. And I'm lucky that I get to play. So I'm pretty grateful that I get that I have a voice that I do have, the voice that I do have.
Yeah. You talk about playing in restaurants.
Yeah.
What's it like playing in a restaurant?
It's your background music, so the pressure's way off.
Right.
Now, on the balcony in Eureka, the musician's job is to play so that people hear you down on the street and they go, oh, look, there's live music.
And
And
I think we have a painting of you playing on the balcony.
Yeah,
Right? Yes.
yeah. Julie Kahn Valentine did that for me. That shows me up on the balcony where I've been playing for 19 years now. It's a great place to have an office. The view's amazing. But anyway, just being able to play up there and offer people a nice time, and they're coming to be, how do you say, rejuvenated.
Right.
They've come from these big cities and they're worn out, and they come to Eureka to feel better and relax. So I consider that part of my job.
Yeah.
And one of the things I will tell people is when you get to town, get a massage first. And then they also love to hear music. So
Right.
it's really nice to be in that position, because that's, as you sit up in that chair and you play, the world revolves in and around you, because you don't go on the road. People come from all over to your place.
Right.
So it's kind of like being in one place but watching the world rotate
Right.
around you. It's pretty cool.
Before the show, we talked about, and we'll leave the name of the restaurant out of this, but you talked about playing in one restaurant where you're also competing with the games on the TV.
Oh yeah, sports bar.
Yeah.
Sports restaurant bar.
Yeah.
Really nice place. And great people, but when the games were on, it was so conflicting, so I wasn't very happy with it.
No.
And I moved on from that. I just decided it was okay. You know, there's always this fear of financial insecurity where you worry that you're not going to have enough money, so you prostitute yourself in just about any venue you can get your hands on.
Right.
I'm really fortunate that I don't have to worry about that. I got myself into a position where I built a house, paid it off, and now those financial insecurities aren't so big, and I don't have to worry so much about that, so I don't have to play those places.
But did you have to in the beginning?
Yeah. First of all, I did it because I needed exposure. Second, I needed the money.
Right.
And then I found out that those kind of venues don't work with an acoustic musician like James Taylor or Sarah McLachlan or any of those. Well, I'm the same type. I'm an acoustical folk pop musician, and I don't need to be competing with the television.
Right.
It's so
You don't need to be in the kind of
crazy.
bars where they have a iron cage in front of you or something, you know?
Oh, you talking about the chicken wire?
Yeah, chicken wire.
Yeah, I did a few of those when I played in country bands. They really do that. They have a trough in front of the chicken wire, and when they're done with their long neck beer, they throw it at the wire, and then it hits the wire and falls into the trough and crashes. And that's just sort of a gimmick that those kind of bars had.
Yeah.
They also had sawdust they would put out on the wooden dance floor. So it's still going on down in Texas. You can find those bars still there.
But you were glad for the chicken wire.
Yeah, that was kind of strange, but it was an experience.
But you haven't had to play a place like that for a long time.
No, no. In fact, I did play a bar that was kind of seedy, and I knew right away. I had 2 nights booked there. I went ahead and played the second night to keep my contract, but I didn't even try to rebook it.
Why? How bad was it?
Huh? It
How
was
bad
so
was it?
bad. One of the customers was acting extremely lewd, and the bar wasn't doing anything about it. Well, it ran off all the customers, including me, after the second night, and they shortly closed thereafter, or they closed shortly thereafter.
Go figure, you know?
Yeah.
But so do you have a sense of purpose with your singing now that you try to impart to people in what you're doing?
You know, we have a lot of stress now, and I
Yeah.
feel like as an artist and as a student of spirituality, if I'm going to have a job, it's going to be to offer peace, because I can't think of a greater thing to try to offer, and that's that just give them some reprieve from what's going on in the world, because
Yeah.
the world is just faster and more pressure and more demand and less money. And
people have shorter attention spans.
yes, I read that about the gnat having a second high, 1 second longer than the human. I think
Yeah.
the human has a
Yeah.
9-second attention. No, The human has an 8-second attention span, and the gnat has a 9-second
I
attention
know.
span. Well, I'm kind of that way. I've been described as having the attention span of a gnat. So.
And when you have ADD, you're at even greater disadvantage, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the space between albums for you? What length of time is there between albums?
Let's see, I think the first album and the second album were about 2 years apart. No, they were 4 years apart because we ran aground on some computer glitches and erased all the work in the beginning. And so that delayed. But then there was probably 3 years after that apart from the next one, and they weren't year after year, I'll put it that way. I haven't made another one for probably 4 years.
So what's the process of putting an album together?
First, you know what material you're going to do.
Right.
Then you know what studio and who's going to help you record it. You make sure your songs are strong enough for the recording. You go in, you get your rough tracks down. I personally, what I do is I record live.
Right.
My engineers hate it because they
Why?
can't isolate the guitar and the vocal.
Oh, okay.
But I lose performance energy between the instrument and me
Yeah.
when I do that, instrument and my voice. I like that hand-in-hand energetic stuff. So if I was playing with a band, I'd have to go with a click track, then a rough track of the guitar and vocal, come back, overlay the bass and drums.
Yeah.
But since I don't do that, I just go right in. I call them my peanut butter and jelly CDs because I just slap on the peanut butter, slap on the jelly, and put it, on 2 pieces of bread that hopefully are gluten-free.
Oh yes, because that's important. No peanuts in them either. So when you pick your songs out, how do you pick them? Are they the ones that you know that people in the audiences have responded to the best, or what?
People will ask me for songs, and when I hear it about the 3rd time, I start really paying attention. Also, people will say, "Oh, do you know so-and-so?" And I don't, and I'll get out my iPhone and make a note. And then I'll go back, and I'll also check the charts, and I'll check with my stepson, Corey, who's very plugged in. He's 25. He's a very, very talented guy, knows music, loves it. He's got a great ear. He turned me on to Ed Sheeran. So Ed Sheeran is just a melt, heartthrob guy. Anyway, people like that, Jason Mraz, those kind of guys, good acoustic songs.
Yeah.
And then I look at classics and I think, how can I acoustically do those?
Right.
So it's kind of that format.
Are there any songs in your repertoire that you just can't stand to sing anymore? Judy Garland, really hated singing Over the Rainbow.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard song to sing. I don't even attempt it. Eva Cassidy did the best version I've ever heard. And that's how I learned about Eva Cassidy. A friend of mine in Dallas, who was Nora Jones' piano teacher, woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "Listen to this." And it was Eva Cassidy.
Right.
And that was a long time ago. And since then, I've learned some of her stuff. But some of the songs, let's see. I don't know. There's something, but I've blocked it out. I remember when I was in bands, I swore that I would never play old-time rock and roll again. Because bum, 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 bum. Oh my God. It was so awful. Over and over and over, night after night. So that's one of those songs where, and they'll ask me for Free Bird.
Yeah, yeah.
Or Turn the Page, or Sweet Home Alabama, and I'll say, $400. I'll just put a price on it. So that's kind of how I handle that.
Now, you expanded, I guess, just beyond albums, too, because you've done music, for plays?
Yeah, I did some work here in Fayetteville years ago with the Arts Live community. We did educational plays for elementary, junior high, and high school.
Right.
Those went around the state. And then I worked with, what's Tracy's company?
Dancescape.
Dancescape, which was probably the most phenomenal project. And you promised me you'll find a video of it.
I'll get you. Yeah, Tracy's my wife, right? We'll make you a copy of that.
He wasn't married to her at the time.
Not at the time, no.
But what happened was Tracy approached me because she had heard of me through Arts Live and said, I've got a choreography that I need music for. And I said, great. And it turned out all the people in this choreography were in wheelchairs, and one was even blind.
Right.
They showed me a practice video of what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I sat down, played the video, and made up music while I was watching the video. Then they took that and tightened up their rehearsal to the final music.
Yeah.
And that's how we wrote it, on the spot, made it up.
Yeah.
I love improvisation.
It's still incredible to watch after all these years.
I hope you show it on your show sometime.
Oh, we do. We show it on the channel.
All right.
There's now, in addition to being a musician, a singer, and on a spiritual quest, you're also an EMT, aren't you?
I was. You have to stay certified with continuing ed credits.
Yeah.
I have gotten out of it now. I was a firefighter for Beavertown.
Right.
And
Which is just outside Eureka.
yes, it was a very small community. They needed volunteers very badly, and they asked me if I wanted to be a firefighter, and it was like a dream come true, because as
Yeah.
a kid, I had the Texaco fire chief
Right.
hat.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody asked me to be a firefighter? Are you kidding me? Then they paid for my first responder class, which is the basic step you take to get involved in emergency care.
Yeah.
Then I went on and they paid for my education at Northwest Arkansas Community College, and I was able to get an EMT certification. The day I got my card, I started working at Eureka Springs Fire Department as a fill-in, like PRN as needed.
Yeah.
And I ended up working there 3 years, and they were amazing. Once you work with people that deal with a lot of trauma calls, because Eureka has so many
Right.
outskirts
Yeah.
areas, rural and stuff, it's not just like in the city where you
Right.
barely have time to start an IV. These were
Yeah.
some serious calls, and I learned a lot. I then got to the point where my back couldn't take it anymore. I was pretty much, my disc had dissolved. So I retired. I also had gotten Lyme's disease,
Oh.
contracted that. So that was an issue. So then I got out of that and just did the music full time. I had started my paramedic prereqs, and that's when I got the Lyme's disease. And something was just telling me I needed to do music full time. So,
what does the future hold for you?
boy, that's a good question, because there's so many wormholes out there. There's the idea that the world is coming to an end.
Planet
March
X is coming.
Yeah, Planet X is coming in September, and then again in March. Don't know if it is or not. I know something's up, because there's too many converging conspiracy theories. They're all occurring in September. They're all occurring in March. Yeah, it's just amazing. What does the future hold? The future holds the present moment. Be sweet, kind, and gentle.
Right.
Do the next right thing, and don't forget to clean the horse stalls.
Never forget that. Never forget that.
Which I'm behind on.
Okay. All right. Well, Catherine, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and we'll try not to let 18 years go by before the next time you're on.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
It's hard to hold on to yourself these days. So many distractions every which way. So little time upon us to do what we must. The world's so much bigger, and who do you trust? Well, I love the country, I know this is true. And I love the feeling of me loving you. But where do I get off when I go to town? More people than ever when I look around. See the light.
You.
makes a difference. Learn more at casafamilyday.org.
You turn on the television or you pick up a newspaper magazine, and all the information you see is just controlled by a handful of corporations. So how are you or I or any of us, how can we get our messages out to people? How can you tell people what you care about? You can go on Facebook and compete with hundreds of people who post things that may or may not be true. You can go on Twitter and post things with a handful of characters, because Twitter is really the place for literate people to hang out. Or you could go in with a sandwich board and walk the streets. You could write a letter to the editor. Or, even better, you could go to public access television. Public access serves your community on a first-come, first-served basis. And whether you're rich or poor, doesn't matter. It's first-come, first-served. Everyone in the community is welcome to come to public access and talk about not only the issues that are important to them, but if you have a poem to recite, a story to tell, a song to sing, just anything at all that's in your mind or heart to tell, you come to public access. Public access in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I'm speaking right now, has been around since 1980, and I've seen it change events in Fayetteville. And the nice thing about public access now in the 21st century is that it's not just on a television channel, but it's also on the internet, so you can reach people around the world. So if you feel frustrated at not being able to talk to people, not being able to get your message out, and you think there's no way to do it, well, take heart, there is. Public access, it's a vital component of our First Amendment rights. So, public access, like the man says, use it or lose it. Speaking of poultry, which is actually a pretty cool way to do that.
Very good.
Lisa wrote a poem, the Poets of Arkansas, or
The Great Chicken Poets of Arkansas.
The Great Chicken Poets of Arkansas.
Are you ready for the Great Chicken
I'm
Poets
ready
of
for the
Arkansas?
Great Chicken Poets of Arkansas.
Let me backtrack in case anyone has joined us late. I am from San Francisco, and I drove across country and came to Arkansas actually by accident. And when I arrived in Siloam Springs at the visitor center, I had this experience recorded here in this here poem, which is a true story. It's called The Great Chicken Poets of Arkansas, or You Say Tomato and I Say Tomato. Clearly, she didn't want to be there fielding tourists at the Visitor Information Center, Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Boredom dripped out in her sighs and fingers grazing tired across a map. Here a river, there a lake, everywhere a good time. Nevertheless, she was helpful, if by rote. Miss Arkansas Information at last became inexplicably animated as I neared the exit. Tourism is very important to Arkansas. It's the #2 industry? Yes, right after poetry. I perked clean out of my interstate days. Nobody told me poetry was big business in Arkansas. Poetry, I repeated, incredulous. Oh, yes, she puffed. Chicken, turkey, all kinds of poetry. Well, I'd just come from a cowboy poetry festival in Oklahoma, so why not chicken poetry? My informant chirped merrily, why, there's Tyson and Cargill and, no doubt, famous Arkansas chicken poets, I deduced. Inspired by my interest, she crowed, yep, we've got more farms than anywhere else in America. Farms? Ah. Everything I really needed to know about the Arkansas accent, I learned in that exchange with the poultry pep gal at the visitor center, Siloam Springs, Arkansas.
But you didn't turn around and go back.
No, I didn't. It really had to sink in for a while. The enormity of what I had just experienced.
She's home watching. Now this song could be sung as a general sense, or it could be sung in a specific sense.
Okay.
I sing it in the specific.
Okay.
Lovely lady, haven't seen her in a long, long time. she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. If she only knew how much I need her when she's not around. My soul aches while my heart waits like a lost child waits to be found. And in my mind I see her, she's everything I wanted to be. And the only thing she cares about doing is taking good care of me. Lovely lady, haven't seen her in a long, long time. You know she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. Such a lovely lady. If I could be with her just once more, I would love her like never before. We would have one another for a while. I never know where she's coming from, it doesn't matter where she's been. All I know is when I'm in her arms, the world seems nice again. She doesn't always look the same, and she has a lot of different names, but I always seem to know her when I see her, and it's loving time again. Lovely lady, if I could be with her just once more, I would love her like never before, and we would have one another for a while. Such a lovely lady. If I could just see her again, maybe it wouldn't have to end, and I wouldn't be here wishing like I am now for my lovely lady. I haven't seen her in a long, long time. You know she's always on my mind. Sure would like to see her again today. Sure would like to see her again. See her again today.
The Smiler Rag by Percy Wenrick.
grab-assing. Sunday night the lesson begins. You want to teach me how a woman will wait for a man to make the first move? A real woman, you say, will not go grab-assing a man's sensibilities just because she feels like it. A nice woman waits ever so delicately for a man to decide when the time is right. You want to teach me to be shy and gentle, but I don't have a talent for it. Waiting is death. Desire can go rancid. Even frozen it starts to turn, stinking up the house within your window. Better to use it all up and make a fresh batch. You want to teach me how to mop and sweep and cook. You want to get me used to the bit in my mouth, but I am laughing too hard. I cannot be broken to field or house. Too many others have tried only to be thrown, their bones crunching against the rock-hard earth. Wednesday night you give up, cook dinner yourself. Spaghetti from a can burns on the stove while I dance you into a corner, grab-assing all your stereotypes in unwomanly fashion.
I kind of souped this song up from when I wrote it. It's a boogie woogie song. It's about down on Dixon Street. Sitting out on the front porch picking up on Ralston Street. The old tomcat, he's laid on the rail and the old dog's laying in the feet. Sam and Iris are out in the kitchen cooking up some delight. When they come out, we'll do the boogie woogie. Yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie. Oh, my love to do the boogie woogie, it makes me feel so good. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, I really think you should. Let your hands start clapping and your toes start tapping, we'll have a real good time. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie. I went down to listen to the Duck Lodge boogie boys, they were sure putting me down. When they did that old boogie woogie, it sure made a beautiful sound. You make you get on up and let your backbone slip, but your soul be going too. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie. Oh, my love to do the boogie woogie, it makes me feel so good. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, I really think you should. Let your hands start clapping and your toes start tapping, we'll have a real good time. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie. Listen to the Duck Lodge boogie boys, they were sure putting it down. When they did that old boogie woogie, sure made a beautiful sound. They make you get on up and let your backbone slip, but your soul gets going too. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, do the boogie woogie. Oh, I love to do the boogie woogie, it makes me feel so good. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, I really think you should. Let your hands start clapping and your toes start tapping, we'll have a real good time. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie all day. I love to do the boogie woogie, it makes me feel so good. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, I really think you should. Let your hands start clapping and your toes start tapping, we'll have a real good time. Come on now and do the boogie woogie, yeah, we'll do the boogie woogie all day. Well, I can do
beyond. I run my fingers down the full length of the curtain that divides her sleeping quarters from her dressing room. She is in the ring right now, riding like a woman on fire, atop a stallion so wild that he would spook the lions. Ursula, draped in black velvet. Ursula, wrapped in orange silk. Her clothes are tailored for a boy. Trousers the color of the moon, a shirt turned up high around the collar, and long black leather boots. No one saw me come in tonight, and even if they did, no one would say a word. We keep these things to ourselves in the circus. You see, the code of the circus is as long as the endless tracks that takes our train from here to there and beyond, as long as the nape of her neck to the curve of her thigh and beyond.
Nebraska. On the buttes they hang a snake, an eyelid, and a rock of immense cold. Wide hand between knocked out earth and a new train looping through the mountains. A poet said, the heather throat of an angel, how beautiful. Crazy horse killed in guilt. Fort Robinson burned in guilt. Buffalo government paid. On the buttes they hang a snake of immense coldness, an eyelid and a rock, a sticky kind of Indian blood, a different sky every rise. Oops. In a nursing home. It will take so long for us to travel that we will have to forget Christmas and birthdays, Timmy Matter said. Matter and matter. He gave the wall a good kick. I just know I'm going to forget something, said Father Matter. But it won't matter, said Mother. If you forget your extra shoes or your slippers, well, who's to notice? Our dog will forget who we are, said Margaret. No, he won't, said Ruth. He will just become someone else's dog. And she stuck out her tongue. I'd take my camera, said Father, in case I see any two-headed mice. Mice, said Timmy. Two-headed mice. Eating the cheese, snorted Father. When we get there, we'll snack on the cheese. Nothing else, said Margaret. No, nothing else, said Father. So they took their dog to the neighbors and said goodbye to their house. And very mad, they got into their car and drove to the launching site. It'll be March when we arrive, said Mother Matter, turning over the pages of the calendar, and Father was mad because the calendar stopped at December.
Politics in general and jobs that don't pay enough, 40-hour work weeks, books full of boring stuff, schools that should teach but kids don't learn a thing. These are a few of my least favorite things. Healthcare that won't heal and how people treat the earth, paying tolls and taxes, disbelief in self-worth, bitter cold winters that cut into spring. These are a few of my least favorite things. Religions that claim they're true, don't get me started. Standards that double and people cold-hearted. Judgment and bias when freedom don't ring. These are a few of my least favorite things. All the lying, all the killing. When I'm depressed and sad, I add that to all of my least favorite things, and then I feel really bad. Feel like Julie Andrews or something.